Welcome to TV 16's Live at 5. I'm Katie McDonald.
And I'm Ansley Watson. Many towns in Arkansas were rocked by the weather last night.
And a father and son clash in Little Rock.
But first, your TV 16 news starts right now. An increase in sales taxes coming to Searcy this summer. Revenue from the tax will be used to improve the city and its departments. The Searcy Police Department will receive a portion of the funds. And Corporal Steve Hernandez says most of the money will go to buying new vehicles for officers. The sales and use tax will go into effect in June, but the Searcy Police and other departments will not be able to use the funds until September.
A Little Rock man is in Pulaski County Jail after his father was found dead at their home. Police say officers were sent to the home of 60-year-old Ronald Johnson late last night, where they found him lying on the living room floor. Johnson's wife said her son, Sean Johnson, attacked his father with a knife before pushing him to the floor and kicking him. When police arrived at the scene, they were forced to taser the son to control him after he struggled with officers. Johnson is being held in the Pulaski County Jail and being charged with second-degree murder. And a house fire has killed 2 children in Dallas County. The fire started in a Sparkman home along Highway 7 early this morning. Officials say the victims were a 2- and 3-year-old boy. There were 5 people inside the house when the fire started, but the parents were not able to get to their youngest children because of the flames. The father attempted to break out a window to get to the boys, but was unable to get inside. Officials believe the fire started due to a candle that was lit after a power outage.
Many Arkansas's communities woke up to extensive damage after storms swept across the state last night. At least 12 different counties across the state reported severe damage to the National Weather Service, and many of them will be without power for days as crews hurry to try and begin fixing the damage. And one town that was hit with heavy damage was Camden, as Fairview High School had 2 wings, the football field, and the gymnasium damaged. Because of that damage, Governor Mike Beebe has authorized the Arkansas National Guard to help with security as crews begin to clean up process. Storm surveyors from the National Weather Service are expected to check the surrounding area this weekend.
Searcy has a rich history, and in it we have produced a lot of talent. One Harding graduate is using his talent to teach children about our history. TV 16's Tyler Nutt has more. To get a Searcy coloring book, visit the Searcy Art Gallery and also see one of their 6 major exhibits they host each year.
Following a back and forth between Pine Bluff city officials, the Jefferson County Election Board has decided there will not be a 2014 mayoral election. Former Mayor Carl Reedus filed to run for mayor this year after the Jefferson County Election Board approved a 2014 election despite a 2012 ruling that the city would follow a different election schedule. Current Mayor Debbie Hollingsworth then filed a lawsuit saying she was given 4 years to do a job when she was elected in 2012. A judge ruled in favor of Hollingsworth yesterday, saying the city must follow the new election schedule, with the next election being 2016.
The chairman of the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board is scheduled to speak at the Clinton School of Public Service next week. Tom Healy was appointed to the position by President Obama in 2011 and also served on President Bill Clinton's Presidential Advisory Council on HIV and AIDS. The Fulbright program is a foreign exchange program that was started by former Arkansas Senator William Fulbright more than 60 years ago and has influenced more than 300,000 people from around the world during that time.
The University of Arkansas Medical Sciences says it plans to engage in a public-private partnership for its internal medicine residency at its Fayetteville campus. UAMS says they will use the more than $2 million in donations and grants that they have received to fund the project, as well as to fund the physical therapy academic program. The grants were rewarded by the Northwest Arkansas Economic Development District and the Western Arkansas Planning and Development District. The physical therapy clinic is scheduled to open later this year, while the internal medicine program plans to be running by July of 2015.
Men make up the majority of the Little Rock Fire Department, but the city is hoping to change that. Women must complete the same physical test as men to become a firefighter, as well as have the same duties as their counterparts. The city of Little Rock does not have an affirmative action plan to hire more females, but instead will use increased recruiting efforts to bring in applicants. The city will begin the first phase of its testing in April, but will not begin hiring until next year.
KARN News Radio has lost 3 members of their crew. It was announced today via social media that Dave Ellswick, Bob Steele, and Jack Heinrichs had been let go from the station. It has not been announced who will fill the positions.
A former senior vice president of one bank has been indicted on bank fraud and money laundering charges. The indictment comes against 56-year-old Gary Rickenbach of Little Rock, saying he conspired with others to use taxpayer money from the Troubles Asset Relief Program to hide a $1.5 million loss that resulted from a bad loan. The bank initially made a request of $10 million in TARP funds, but later increased the request to over $17 million to cover the loss. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Little Rock, the money has not been repaid to the government. Rickenbach and others hid the loss from the federal examiners by making loans to accounts that he created or controlled.
More than a decade ago, a Searcy church began to open its doors in the hearts of its members and volunteers to people living in poverty. Families, singles, and couples were encouraged to come to College Church of Christ and immerse themselves in its new Bible program called Caring and Sharing. TV16's Kaylee Evans has more. Caring and Sharing is open every Monday and Thursday night year-round. Volunteers aged 16 and up can begin arriving at 6 o'clock at College Church of Christ on Race Street. They will be put to work in either the adults or the children, helping to teach Bible classes, serve food, or playing with the children.
And coming up after the break, investigators are still searching for answers in the Fort Hood shooting.
And another protest rises in Venezuela. But first, we'll have a look with Cole Walker with the weather. Cole?
We just had some storms pass through. We still got some warm weather coming our way, but it is still going to be a little bit chilly. Make sure you keep your TV right here. I'll be able to tell you about all that and more coming up right after the break. That's all I have for you in weather. Back to the desk.
Arkansas was not the only place that experienced the severe weather yesterday, as northeast Texas and parts of Missouri were hit just as severely. Take a look.
As tension begins to settle after the protests in Ukraine last month, many Eastern European leaders are now wanting Ukraine's cooperation. Foreign ministers from 10 former Soviet republics say they want stability and cooperation with Ukraine. Representatives from the Commonwealth of Independent States met in Moscow. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Ukraine needs real constitutional reform to prove its independence from the West. This week, Russia and NATO suspended military cooperation because of their dispute over Ukraine and Crimea.
As the protests in Ukraine are now in the past, the protests in Venezuela continue to gather. This time it was a protest organized by students in the capital city of Caracas. These photos were taken by the protest by CNN contributor Carlos Becerra, who says the protest was blocked by National Bolivarian Police. The police block caused a violent reaction, which forced armed police to force their way into the Central University of Venezuela in an attempt to subdue the protesters. Becerra says the violence quickly ended within minutes of the police entering the university.
And there are still few clues as to why a 34-year-old Iraq war veteran killed 3 and wounded 16 others on the Fort Hood military base Wednesday before turning the gun on himself. Karen Kaffa has the latest on the investigation from Washington. In a family statement released Friday afternoon, the father of Ivan Lopez said the situation is very painful and seeks prayers for all the families affected. He also says his son must have not been in his right mind. And coming up in sports after the break, we have Bo Smith telling us all about what's going on. Bo?
That's right, Katie. Coming up in sports, we're seeing that tennis and softball are playing right now. Plus, they'll have games coming up this weekend as well as the baseball team. I'll have all that for you and more after the break. And that'll do it here for sports. Let's send it back to the desk with Ansley and Katie. Ladies?
Thanks, Bo. Coming up after the break, a Searcy tradition has returned. Stay with us.
An Arkansas family tradition has returned. The Yarnell's Ice Cream Company in Searcy opened back up in 2012 after a sudden shutdown. Since then, Yarnell's is under new management and has come back into the hearts and homes of people everywhere. TV 16's Brianna Burcham has the latest. In addition to finding this premium ice cream in the freezer section, Yarnell's has also made its way into Harding University's cafeteria for even students to enjoy. Thanks for watching Live at 5 for all your news, weather, and sports.
And remember, watch us anytime, anywhere at the link.streaming.harding.edu.